Howdy folks, it's the Creepy Kentuckian here with you again on Halloween. Happy Halloween, guys. Halloween 2023, we've celebrated many a Halloween October 31st with you guys over the years. And I wanted to pick the perfect movie to review on Halloween. This is a new release from Kino Lorber. Kind of a re-release. I think the original one didn't come with the snazzy slipcover. But this is a classic. This has been out numerous formats over the years. It's Mario Bava's favorite film that he directed. From 1963, the horror anthology starring Boris Karloff, Black Sabbath. There may be many of you guys that don't realize that there are two different versions of this movie. There is the Italian language version, which I have seen quite a bit. And the Italian language version actually isn't even called Black Sabbath. It's Three Faces of Fear. Only in the U.S. did they rename it Black Sabbath to kind of go with Bava's previous hit, Black Sunday. So a little bit of fun trivia there for you. But also the English language version has the stories out of order from the Italian version. And it's just kind of interesting to me. And American International Pictures is the company that did the U.S. version, which this is the one that we're looking at today. Now, about 10 years ago, Kino did release the Italian language version in this release here, which is out of print and going for quite a bit of money. But anyway, guys, this is one of my favorite horror anthology movies. Very atmospheric. The stories are all fun. A lot of the 60s anthology movies, which there were quite a few in the 60s, all kind of hold a special place in my heart. Tales of Terror is probably my favorite of that decade, but this one's very close. And I was excited to check out this release. Kino Lorber released this one. It's a part of their Studio Classics line. We are going to get into each story in the movie, talk a little bit about the movie, and let you guys know if this is one that you'll want to be picking up and adding to the collection. So let's get into it. 1963's Black Sabbath is an anthology film hosted by Boris Karloff. The first episode of this cut of the anthology features the drop of water where a young nurse robs from a corpse and is immediately haunted by its spirit. This one's set in the early 1900s, has a very spooky haunted house type atmosphere. Special effects in this is really cool. The corpse woman is really creepy. Next episode up, The Telephone, which still remains to be my favorite episode of the series, Italian or English. This one's set in modern 1963. The young, sexy Rosie gets calls from a man she doesn't know. Little does she know, the twisted individual on a phone is closer than a phone call away. The next one's a gothic 1800s era tale called The Verdelock. It's about a vampire who seeks the blood of the living. Boris Karloff stars in the episode with some very iconic imagery. Karloff plays Gorka, who can be transformed into the Verdelock, and unknowing to the family, kidnaps and attacks his own grandson. So, yeah, guys, that is Black Sabbath in a nutshell, all three stories. This one, of course, directed by the legendary Mario Bava. One of his more well-known films, as I said earlier, this was Bava's favorite film that he ever made himself. And you can clearly tell why. This is just fun. This is like Haunted House on disc. Perfect movie to watch on Halloween or just really any time. Every once in a while, cold, dark, rainy nights, I feel like putting on some gothic horror of this time period. The Verdelock comes to mind. You see the evil Gorka, played by Boris Karloff, trotting on his horse like a fucking madman. Sometimes these movies just really hit the spot. And Black Sabbath is an all-time classic. one of my favorite Mario Bava movies for sure. It's probably the one that I've seen the most. This one, the Italian language version, was a staple on Independent Film Channel back in the day. Watched it almost every October it was on. But honestly, I wasn't as familiar with the American International's Pictures version, which is in English, and you can clearly tell if you watch the English version, this film was shot in English. So the actors and everything were clearly not speaking Italian, as much as, you know, the certain vibe in the telephone when the hot, sexy, she does look Italian. I don't know if she's Italian or not, but she answers, pronto. But you don't get that in this version. It still holds up, though, man. They did mix the order of the episodes up from the Italian version, which, you know, it doesn't really matter. Each episode is introduced by Boris Karloff, which this was one of his later movies. He would sadly pass away 5 or 6 years after this one was released. But still did a great job. Has a very creepy voice in this. And the character of Gorka does a fantastic job in the Vertlock episode. So, anyway, this edition of Black Sabbath, it's a re-release from the bare bones without, I think they're doing a few that they've re-released with the slip cover that didn't have the slip before. It's the same artwork and everything. If you, there's no reverse artwork or anything in it. Kino Lorber keeps it simple. Transfer on this is fantastic. It's a 92-minute film, 185 to 1 anamorphic HD transfer that looks fantastic. The extras, there's not any extras aside from theatrical trailers, and there is an audio commentary by the novelist and critic Tim Lucas, who knows way more about these Euro horror movies than I could ever pretend that I know. But I have fun with it. I think that I can give you guys a common man's take on an Italian Euro horror classic. Black Sabbath is for sure that. It's a kick-ass movie, guys. 10 out of 10, 2 thumbs up. High recommendation. Love Black Sabbath. You guys have a happy Halloween. Keep it creepy. Check Black Sabbath out for sure. It is out now. Be sure to check us out. We're over at deadpit.com. Give us the thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a fuck. If you do
I want you to. I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that now.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit radio shirts. You can get Last South on the left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Deadpit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows, fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.